Hi everyone. Today let's discuss some questions and answers related to the topic Indian satellites in space. First question, which is the first Indian satellite? Which is the first Indian satellite? Aryabhatta is the first Indian satellite. What is the primary application of GSAT-7 satellite? Primary application of GSAT-7 satellite. Answer, communication. Which satellite series is known for its role in disaster management? Which satellite series is known for its role in disaster management? RISAT, Radar Imaging Satellite. What is the main purpose of the Gagan system? Enhancing GPS accuracy for aviation. Main purpose of Gagan system, enhancing GPS accuracy for aviation. Gagan, GPS aided geo augmented navigation. Gagan. Which organization developed the Sindhu Netra satellite? DRDO, Defense Research and Development Organization. Name India's first satellite and when it was launched. Which is India's first satellite? We already told Aryabhatta. It was launched on 19th April 1975. 19th April 1975. Which satellite is known as Earth Observation Satellite that was launched on 5 May 2005? Earth Observation Satellite, Cartosat, also known as IRS-P5. Cartosat 1, also designated IRS-P5. Primary mission cartographic applications such as mapping and land use monitoring, urban development, disaster management, etc. India's first Pico satellite. India's first Pico satellite is STEDSAT, which stands for Student Satellite. Pico-satellite, a class of very small satellites weighing under 1 kg, launched by India on 12 July 2010 aboard PSLV C-15 from the Satish Dhawan Space Center. So, India's first Pico satellite is STEDSAT, which stands for Student Satellite. Name a space weapon which is designed to destroy or incapacitate satellites for strategic military purposes. ASAT, anti-satellite weapon. What is the full form of IRNSS-1B satellite and when it was launched? What was the full form of IRNSS-1B satellite? Indian Regional Navigation Satellite System. It was launched on 4th April 2014. Which satellite is dedicated as India's first multi-wavelength space observatory? Correct answer, AstroSat. AstroSat launched by ISRO on 28 September 2015. The Mars Orbiter mission, informally known as Mars Orbiter mission, is known as Mangalyaan. The Electronic Intelligence Satellite EMISAT is launched on. The Electronic Intelligence Satellite EMISAT is launched on 1st April 2019. 1st April 2019. Which satellite was developed by India and France? Megatropics, a weather and climate satellite. Megatropics was jointly built by ISRO, CNES, ISRO and CNES, the French Space Agency. It was launched on 12th October 2011. For which purpose CatSat-1 satellite was launched on 1st September 2016? CatSat-1 satellite, for which purpose it was launched? All the above. So correct answer is all the above. SCATSat-1 satellite was launched to provide weather forecasting, cyclone prediction, disaster management, etc. SCATSat main purpose of SCATSat-1 is ocean wind monitoring and weather or cyclone forecasting, cyclone detection, weather forecasting, oceanographic climate studies, disaster management, marine operation, etc. Which organization is responsible for building and launching Indian satellite? ISRO, Indian Space Research Organization. From where is the GSLV F-16 mission, which will launch the NISAR satellite, scheduled to launch? GSLV F-16 mission. Answer: Sriharikota, Andhra Pradesh. GSLV F-16 is the 18th height of India's GSLV Mach 2 launch vehicle and is scheduled for mid 2025, targeting a launch on earlier than June 18, 2025 from second launch pad at Satish Dhawan Space Center, Sriharikota. What does NISAR stand for? What does NISAR stand for? NASA ISRO Synthetic Aperture Radar. NISAR is an acronym for NASA ISRO Synthetic Aperture Radar. Which Indian satellite was developed for studying the sun? Which Indian satellite was developed for studying the sun? Aditya L1. Which launch vehicle is used for most of ISRO satellite launches? Which launch vehicle is used for most ISRO satellite launches? PSLV. What is the full form of PSLV? Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle. What is the primary purpose of ISRO Cartosat series of satellite? Primary purpose of ISRO's Cartosat series of satellite: Earth observation. Which Indian satellite was the first to be placed in a geosynchronous orbit? Apple. Ariane passenger payload experiment. Apple was ISRO's very first success in geostationary space communication, breaking ground in June 1981 and shaping the future of Indian satellite communication landscape. Which launch vehicle is known as the workhorse of ISRO due to its consistent performance? Which launch vehicle is known as the workhorse of ISRO? PSLV, the Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle, that is known as the workhorse of ISRO. When was the Indian Space Research Organization, ISRO, founded? When was ISRO founded? 15th August 1969. Which satellite was launched by India to mark its entry into the world space communication? Apple Ariane passenger payload experiment. Which satellite was the first to be launched by ISRO into geostationary orbit? Apple. Which Indian spacecraft was the first to land on the moon? Which Indian spacecraft was the first to land on the moon? Chandrayaan 3. The first Indian spacecraft to achieve a soft landing on the moon was Chandrayaan 3, which successfully touched down near the moon's south pole on 23 August 2023. Loading date 23 August 2023. Land site near Moon's South Pole. What is the name of India's satellite navigation system? What is the name of India's satellite navigation system? Navik. Which ISRO launch vehicle is known for launching satellite into low Earth orbit? PSLV. What is the main purpose of the AstroSat mission? AstroSat, astronomical observation. What was the name of the mission that put India's first space capsule in orbit? The mission that placed India's first space capsule in orbit was the Space Capsule Recovery Experiment 1, SRE-1. What is the full form of PSLV? We already told. Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle, which was ISRO's first successful soft landing on the moon. This also repeated, which was ISRO's first successful soft landing on the moon. Chandrayaan 3 in 2023. In which year did ISRO launch a record 104 satellites in a single mission? 2017. India achieved a remarkable milestone on 15th February 2017 when ISRO's PSLV C-37 mission successfully deployed a record-breaking 104 satellites into orbit in a single launch. What is the spaceport launch site of ISRO called? What is the launch site of ISRO? Satish Dhawan Space Center at Sriharikota. Satish Dhawan Space Center. What is the full form of GSLV? Geosynchronous Satellite Launch Vehicle. GSLV, Geosynchronous Satellite Launch Vehicle. Which ISRO center is responsible for the design and development of launch vehicle? VSSC in Thiruvananthapuram. The Vikram Sarabhai Space Center located in Thiruvananthapuram is the lead center at ISRO responsible for the design and development of launch vehicle technology. Which ISRO center is responsible for the realization of satellites? UR Rao Satellite Center in Bangalore, Karnataka. The UR Rao Satellite Center, URSC, in Bangalore is the primary ISRO center responsible for the design, development, assembly, integration, and realization of satellites. Which is the heaviest satellite launched by India from Indian soil? INSAT 4CR. Heaviest satellite launched in Indian soil. Which island in Andhra Pradesh is home to ISRO Satish Dhawan Space Center? Sriharikota. What is the name of ISRO's mission that successfully demonstrated space docking and de-docking? Space docking and de-docking. SPADEX. Space docking experiment. What was the preceding agency before ISRO? INCOSPAR. Indian National Committee for Space Research. The agency which preceding ISRO. INCOSPAR, that Indian National Committee for Space Research. In which year did ISRO launch its first mission to Mars? 2013. ISRO's first mission to Mars was the Mars Orbiter Mission MOM, also known as Mangalyaan. It was launched on 5 November 2013. Who is the present chairman of ISRO? Dr. V. Narayanan is the current chairman of ISRO, having taken office on 14 January 2025. Which satellite is responsible for communication, meteorological services, and television broadcasting in India? INSAT. Which satellite is used for resources monitoring and management by ISRO? IRS. Where and when was Chandrayaan first launched? Sriharikota in 22nd October 2008. What was the mission of Chandrayaan 1? Remote sensing and planetary science. Which are the two satellite launch vehicles developed by ISRO? PSLV and GSLV. Which mission is related to Mangalyaan? Mars Orbiter Mission MOM. What was India's first meteorological satellite? Kalpana 1, originally named METSAT 1, launched on 12 September 2002, carrying a VHRR scanner in geostationary orbit. Which satellite is dedicated to ocean monitoring? The OceanSat series with OceanSat 3 launched on 26 November 2022. Which satellite series provides all-weather radar imaging for remote sensing? The RISAT series of SAR satellite, example RISAT 2, RISAT 2B, etc. What is resource sat used for? Resource sat satellite monitor agriculture, forestry, water resources, land use and road multispectral imaging. Which satellite offers high quality cartographic data related to mapping? Cartosat series. Cartosat 3 has 0.25 m resolution, launched 27 November 2019. Which satellite is known as the eye in the sky? RISAT 2. Which satellite confirmed water on the moon? Chandrayaan 1 in 2008. First Indian satellite for ocean scatometry. SCATSAT-1 launched to 26 September 2016. What is Aditya L1? India's first solar observatory mission located at L1, carrying 7 payloads for studying the sun.